common enemies, like ISIL.
President Obama also took on the controversy surrounding 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick. He's been sitting or taking a knee during the national anthem before his preseason games, earning him a chorus of boos from some fans. President Obama says Kaepernick is following a long tradition of sports figures exercising their constitutional rights.
As a general matter, when it comes to the flag and the national anthem and the meaning that that holds for our men and women in uniform and those who fought for us, that is a tough thing for them to get past, to then hear what his deeper concerns are. But I don't doubt his sincerity based on what I've heard. I think he cares about some real, legitimate issues that have to be talked about.
So let's talk about this. Jason Johnson joins me live from Atlanta. He's the politics editor for TheRoot.com and political science professor at Morgan State University. Hi, Jason.
Morning, Carol.
So the president prefaced those remarks by saying, I haven't really thought about this, but then he gave this remarkably thought-out answer. So evidently he really has been thinking about it.
Yeah. It's always interesting when the president's like, I just had no idea, but let me bring out this whole sheet that I have here. Look, first off, President Obama's a sports fan, so I can't imagine he's not paying attention to this. But I thought that's the closest thing to an endorsement of Colin Kaepernick's behavior as we've heard from any official, both elected and or simply working in the NFL. He said that his points are valid. He thought that his protest was sincere and completely in line with history. And I thought most importantly, the president said, look, I understand that some men and women in uniform can't look past him not standing for the pledge, but he hoped that over time they would understand that the issues that Colin Kaepernick was bringing up were very important and had to do with all of us standing up for our patriotic duties in this country.
Of course, President Obama is not running for office. Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine has weighed in on this issue. He said the quarterback was following his conscience, but he would do it differently. Kaine said Kaepernick's rationale for protesting didn't make much sense to him. So there's, I don't know if it's completely different, but it is different.
It is different, and I can say this, Carol. I personally, ideologically and politically, I have a problem with anyone lecturing people on how they should go about protesting. It's one thing to say, well, I don't think you should destroy property. Of course not. No one wants property destroyed. But how is Colin Kaepernick supposed to protest? If he protests loudly, then he's disrupting the game. He protests silently, then people have a problem with it. When at its core, it's just about, I think, a certain amount of political cowardice about a young man who's exercising his rights. So, I don't think that what Tim Kaine said was correct, but he's running for office right now, so he's got to play the middle. They got to win those swing states.
They'll play the middle. See, and I yearn for politicians to just say what they mean. And yeah. Donald Trump certainly did that. Not that I agree with one stand or the other, but Donald Trump said, maybe he should leave the country if he doesn't like it here.
Right. And I've always thought that that is an equally offensive thing to say. So the idea that if you exercise your constitutional rights, get out of here if you don't like everything that's going on, that's sort of like saying, well, if you didn't like your dinner at the restaurant, never go out to dinner again. No one would ever say that. He has a right to say what he wants to say. But I think it reflects a sort of overall racial dynamic in how this country operates when it comes to people protesting. I'll give you a quick example. You've got the San Francisco Police Department saying, we're not going to cover the games unless Colin Kaepernick apologizes. So government employees are not going to do their job because a private citizen decides that he wants to exercise his constitutional rights. That's the problem that we have here, that for some reason we pick and choose whose protests are legitimate, and that's not a functional way for this country to operate.
Well, see, what it's becoming more of a controversy or a debate over whether someone should stand for the national anthem at a sporting event instead of what Colin Kaepernick yearns for, and that's an intelligence discussion on police brutality in this country, alleged police brutality.
Exactly, Carol. And as I said, I wrote an article about this on The Root about the Star-Spangled Banner. I mean, there are issues with our national anthem. There are issues as to whether the Star-Spangled Banner is, in fact, in the third verse, a sort of a racist screed complaining about African Americans and slaves seeking freedom. So there's a lot of issues in this that I think people are, in many ways, intentionally ignoring because it's much easier to complain about Colin Kaepernick's hair, whether or not he's a good starter anymore, whether or not he stood on one knee or didn't stand on one knee, rather than talking about the fact that he's saying there are people who are tax-paying, law-abiding American citizens who are not receiving the same justice as anyone else. And I'll say this, if Colin Kaepernick decided he was going to sit on one knee or not stand for the pledge until America fulfilled its promise to veterans and made sure they were all safe and taken care of, no one would be complaining. So this is really about what he's complaining about rather than how he's doing it.
All right, Jason Johnson, thanks for stopping by on this Labor Day. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Carol.